What's the center? 0, 0. And so that means the center is here. Now, if we go to look at the x-intercepts and the y-intercepts, in fact, let's just do A and B because that's going to be the easy part. A is my distance from x. I always treat A and B. A is distance from x, B is distance from y. So A is distance from x along the x-axis. So this would be the square root of 16, which is 4. And B would be the distance from center, which is the square root of 25, which is 5. Now I'm going to go after the x and y intercepts later so that we can, for the reason why I do that. Now how would I graph one of these guys? Well, what axis does it cut?
Y. Well, negative, I don't know, y is negative, so it should x.
Cuts the x-axis, yeah. Because what's in front of the y is a minus. So that says from center, I'm just going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 along the x, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if this was an ellipse, I connect the dots, but it's not. It's a hyperbola. So what do I do? Instead of making an oval, I'm going to make a box. And the box is going to go through the dots. And you're going to say, why in the world did you do that? Now remember that that hyperbolas have asymptotes. So what you do is you create the asymptotes. And you say, well, how do you do that? Well, it's going to be corner of the box, center, corner of the box. So here's one of the asymptotes. Corner of the box, center, corner of the box. There's the asymptote. So those are the two asymptotes. That's my x. Now, does it cut the x-axis or the y-axis? The x-axis, so that means the hyperbola is here. So I didn't need the x-intercepts. Then you would say to yourself, then why are we doing this? Well, to tell you, how do I know, and making sure you understand why in the world how I know it cuts the x-axis or the y-axis. If I were to find the x-intercepts, y is 0. So I would get x squared over 16 equals 1. X squared equals 16, or x is plus or minus the square root of 16, which is 4. I come up with a number. So that means that the x-intercepts are negative 4 and positive 4. If I go after the y-intercepts, then x is 0. So I'm going to have 0 squared over 16 minus y squared over 25 equals 1. Minus y squared over 25 equals 1. Minus y squared equals 25. Y squared equals minus 25. And now y is plus or minus the square root of minus 25. These are imaginary.
That's a dumb question. Where does the 1 go when you add 25 over?
Now what happens, remember we clear the fraction by multiplying both sides by 25?
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to get it wrong. For some reason I was thinking it was like adding 25, not times.
Yeah, we do that. I do that too, so yeah. So, because it's imaginary, I have no y-intercepts, that means this guy's going away from the y-axis. But that makes the hyperbola not a parabola, not an ellipse. So it says because the minus sign is in front of the y squared, it's going to cut the x-axis and move away from the y-axis. Now the second example, he's not in standard form. So the first thing I do, I need a 1 in this position, so I'm going to divide everybody by 36. So I'm going to get y squared over 9 minus x squared over 4 equals 1. The center is at 0, 0. And A is 9, well, A is, well, I guess 4, it's going to be X or Y. So movement on the X, square root of 4 is 2, so this is X movement. 9, so square root of 9 is 3, Y movement. So from center, on the X, I move plus 2, minus 2. From center on the Y, plus 3, minus 3. And then I draw my box. Now, my X, those are the asymptotes. So corner, center, corner. Corner, center, corner. And this guy cuts what axis? So he's going to cut the y-axis. And that's because y comes first. So that says this is where the graph really is. That's your hyperbola. Now x and y intercepts. X-intercept means y is 0. So I get 0 squared over 9 minus x squared over 4 equals 1. Minus x squared equals 4. X squared is minus 4. X is plus or minus the square root of minus 4. That's imaginary. And that says the graph is not going to cut, because a minus is in front of the x squared. Now if I go the other side and we know that x is 0, we get that y squared over 9 minus 0 squared over 4 equals 1. Y squared equals 9. Y is plus or minus 3. So that says plus or minus 3, 0 plus or minus 3. I have y-intercepts. So it's going to cut the y-axis. But it's easy enough to see. The guy with the minus is the guy that gets avoided. Now, if I had to have the equation of the asymptote, I'm not sure why you would want it, but in case you wanted to have it, I could pick the center. I could pick the coordinate on the corner of the box and do rise over run and find the equation of the line. That would be easy enough to do. But I'm not sure why you want it.